Hi, I'm Maria from Monterrey, Mexico. Please like and subscribe. I don't mean to brag, but I'm the front woman for the coolest band in town. Okay, I meant to brag a little bit. We rocked. There were 3 of us, me on guitar and lead vocals, Pablo on bass, and Noemi on drums. Crowds loved us. Or at least the crowds at our local high school and the music clubs did. We hadn't been on a big tour or anything like that yet, but I really wanted to show the world what we could do. I imagined us playing in front of sold-out crowds in Tokyo, LA, Buenos Aires, Paris. We just needed someone who believed in us enough to pay for it. Pablo didn't care about fame or record deals like I did. He was in it for the love of music. I was too, but I wanted to share our music with everyone everywhere. Pablo just wanted to rock out for our local fans. After school, we were rehearsing in my garage for our show that night. We had this year's Battle of the Bands coming up too. We came in second last year, and Pablo's still mad about it. The band who beat us, the Pink Ponies, were really good though. Plus, the girls were nice, so I didn't mind. But this year, we were gonna win. Did you guys hear? There are supposed to be some VIPs at the concert tonight. Like who? Who cares? We don't play music for those guys. We play for our fans. Why not both? I think Noemi regretted bringing it up, but I'm glad she did. That night, I wore my most fire outfit. If there really were gonna be some VIPs there, I wanted to make an impression. In the green room, we put our hands in like we always do before starting a show. Then we lifted our hands at the same time, cheered, and strutted out onto the stage. The venue was packed. There must have been a few hundred people there. You'd probably think I was nervous, but I wasn't. This was where I felt most at home. On stage with a guitar in my hands and a mic in front of me, I strummed the first chord and the crowd went nuts. It wasn't always like this. When I was younger, I was super shy. Even my parents thought I was a wallflower. All the other kids seemed so free and joyful, but I didn't know how to be myself like that. I was always stuck in my own head. Then one day in class, we were reading a play. It was a musical, but all my classmates and even the teacher were just reading the words in a monotone voice like a robot. When it was my turn to read a part, I started to sing. I don't even know why I did that. I wasn't planning to or anything, but in the moment, inspiration struck and the notes just poured out of me. Everyone stopped what they were doing. The sleeping students woke up to listen, and the ones who were already awake sat up straight. When I finished, the whole room burst into applause. Later that day at recess, Pablo approached me. He had never said a word to me before then. Not because he was a jerk or anything, I just kept to myself mostly. He said he was starting a band and wanted to know if I would join. Fast forward to now, and here we are performing together for a sold-out crowd. Pablo slapped the bass while I busted out a guitar solo. Noemi played her heart out on the drums. After the show, we stayed at the club to hang out and meet some of our fans.
Excuse me.
A man in a fancy suit approached us. His suit looked like it cost more than my guitar. He stood out from our other fans. He didn't seem like he was from around here.
I'm Darren Smith. I work for MSA Records. You guys put on one heck of a show.
Thanks so much.
I'd love to have you guys drop by for a meeting. We have a lot to discuss.
We do?
Absolutely. I see a very bright future for the band. With my label's help, your name will be in the lights.
He handed me a business card, flashed a $1 million grin, and left. Wow. I had so much fun playing that night that I had completely forgotten about the VIPs. But now, a big shot at a hot new record label wanted to collaborate? Things were really working out. At the record label building, Noemi, Pablo, and I all sat down for our meeting. There were plaques and awards on the walls and glossy photos of some incredible artists and bands. I had always aimed to be in the same league as those artists, but now someone important thought so too. Pablo wasn't nearly as excited as I was. He seemed skeptical, but that's just how he was. He had a hard time trusting people. Noemi was much more chill. She was the type to go with the flow.
I'll cut to the chase. I think you guys are the real deal, and I'd like to sign you. How does that sound to you?
Sounds amazing.
We need to see the contract first.
What they said.
Of course. I think you'll find it's more than generous. Your tour, equipment, sound guy, roadies, all of it will be fully paid for by the label, along with generous compensation.
The 3 of us looked over the contract. My eyes bugged out at 2 words. Global tour.
Hold on. What's this part about a 4th band member? That's part of the deal. You guys are good now, but imagine how great you could be with a 2nd guitar player. It'll really round out your sound.
Do we get to choose the new member?
I'm afraid not. The label's already picked someone, but I have no doubts he'll be a fantastic addition to your band.
Just then, maybe the hottest guy I'd ever seen walked into the room. He had a pierced ear and this floppy hair that covered one eye. I wanted to brush it for him.
Guys, I'd like you to meet your new rhythm guitar player, Tommy. Tommy is a killer musician. He also happens to be my son.
Tommy jammed his hands in his pockets, nodding to us casually. Noemi and I made moon eyes at him, while Pablo gave him the death stare.
What do you say? Do we have a deal? We'll think about it.
Yes, we have a deal! The next day, we had our first rehearsal as a four-piece. Tommy was late.
Unbelievable. This jerk hasn't even been in the band for a full day and he's already late? How do we even know he can play? Why doesn't he have his own band? He needed daddy to pull some strings?
Pablo, at least give him a chance. What if he's great? Just then, Tommy appeared. He already had his guitar plugged in. He didn't say a word. I was mortified. Had he heard what Pablo just said about him? I wanted to throw something at Pablo, but I needed to keep my cool. What if Tommy went back to his dad and said we weren't ready and they canceled the tour? Tommy started to play. He was shredding. I'd never seen fingers move that fast before. It looked like little lightning bolts were coming off his guitar. Noemi nodded along, then kicked in on the drums. I strummed some chords, and even Pablo was impressed and joined in on bass.
That good enough for you?
Noemi and I definitely thought so.
Not bad, man. You've got some chops. Sorry I judged you.
We were all feeling great after the rehearsal. Now that we had Tommy on guitar, there was no way we wouldn't win the Battle of the Bands this year. Tommy hung back after Noemi and Pablo left.
Hey, I was hoping we could talk alone for a minute.
I could feel my palms start to sweat. Maybe he wanted to practice one-on-one.
My dad told me to say this to you before sharing it with the rest of the band.
Of course, he was only talking to me because his dad asked him to.
He wants to make some changes to the band's image, punch things up a little. If we're gonna be performing all over the world, the band can't wear the same clothes on stage that they do in geometry class.
I don't know if Noemi and Pablo will go for that.
He thought they might resist. That's why they should hear it from you. You're the leader of this band, Maria. They'll listen to you.
I had never thought of myself as the leader before. We were all equally important. But Tommy wasn't wrong that Pablo and Noemi listened to me. And besides, what harm could it do to dress up a bit? It's not like he was asking us to change our music. And at the end of the day, that's what really mattered. I'll talk to them.
Thanks, Maria. I knew I could count on you. Just one more thing. My dad wants to move up the dates of the tour. We leave Saturday.
But the Battle of the Bands is Saturday. We've spent all year preparing for it.
Who cares about some local competition? It's a bunch of townies who will never go anywhere. I'm talking about a global tour here.
He took my hands just then.
Maria, my dad thinks you could really be a star.
And what do you think?
I think he's right.
That night, I called an emergency band meeting at our favorite club. I hoped that would soften the blow, but I was still nervous to break the news. So, it looks like our tour dates have changed. They want us to leave for Europe on Saturday.
You told them no, right? We can't miss the Battle of the Bands.
I said we'd do it. And not only that, they have these new outfits they want us to wear.
Sorry, who made you dictator? Last time I checked, we all got an equal vote. And I vote we play Battle of the Bands like we planned, in our normal clothes. Noemi, what's your vote?
Battle of the Bands.
Sorry, Maria. Can I see the outfits, though?
Guys, this is a global tour, just like we always wanted.
No, that's what you always wanted, not us. You've changed, Maria. Some new guy joins the band and suddenly you don't care what anyone else thinks but him? It's selfish.
There's nothing wrong with having big dreams. Sorry I have higher hopes for the band than just playing in the same old clubs all the time for the same old townies. I felt guilty immediately. I really loved our fans. I didn't mean to insult anyone. Pablo just made me so frustrated sometimes. He stared at me. He was mad, I knew that. But there was something else there too, like he was hurt.
Have fun in Europe.
Pablo stormed off. Noemi looked guilty. I felt bad for getting her caught in the middle like that. You know I always support you, Maria. Just be careful. Tommy doesn't know you like we do. He might not have your best interests at heart. She hugged me. Text me when you go to the Eiffel Tower. At the record label the next morning, I broke the bad news. I told Darren and Tommy that Pablo and Noemi weren't coming. There was no way we could do the tour without them.
What are you talking about? Of course you can. Drummers and bassists are a dime a dozen. The label will just hire new ones. You and Tommy are the faces of the band anyway.
I didn't like him talking about my friends like that, like they were replaceable. Had this been the plan all along? To get rid of Pablo and Noemi? Stop it, Maria, I told myself. You're about to live your dream. Pablo and Noemi chose to stay behind. You tried to convince them, and they said no. That Saturday, I watched the planes take off as we arrived at the airport. I started to get excited. This time tomorrow, I would be in Paris. Later, Tommy and I were waiting in the terminal for a flight to start boarding. I glanced over at Tommy's phone. He was browsing photos of our recent rehearsals. I looked closer. Every single photo was of himself. You couldn't even see me or Pablo or Noemi. Doubts started to nag at me again. I thought back on all the great times my band and I had shared together. The day Pablo approached me at recess. Our first jam session. The three of us at that late-night diner after our shows. The new guitar strap Pablo gave me for my birthday. Suddenly, I stood up.
The plane's not boarding yet.
I grabbed my guitar case and started to run.
My dad spent a lot of money on this tour.
Looks like you're playing solo. I raced outside and took the first taxi I could find. I just hoped I'd get there in time. The venue was crazy busy when I got there. People were squeezed in shoulder to shoulder. I could barely move. The Pink Ponies were playing up a storm on stage. The good news was that meant our band hadn't played yet. The bad news was the Pink Ponies sounded amazing. They were gonna be hard to beat. Backstage, I found Noemi and Pablo getting ready. Guys, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made a decision without asking what you both wanted first. I got carried away, but this is what matters. Right here, us. They were silent. I was scared. Maybe they wouldn't take me back. Maybe it was too late.
Come on, we've got a competition to win.
Welcome back, Maria. Noemi spun her drumstick and grinned at me. It was our turn to take the stage. We played the best show of our lives. It felt so good to be back on stage with my friends. Afterwards, we waited to hear the judge's verdict. Pablo asked to speak to me privately.
Sorry if I was a jerk. I just remember how quiet you used to be before you started singing. And then you found your voice, and you were incredible. Don't let anyone ever take your voice away.
I'm sorry too. I guess I really believed for a second that I could be a star one day. That's what Tommy said.
He was wrong.
Of course you don't think I could be. To you, I'm just plain old Maria.
Maria, he was wrong to say one day. You're a star now.
And then something crazy happened. Pablo leaned in and kissed me. It turned out he had had a crush on me since forever, but he was worried acting on it might hurt the band. But I was glad he did. There was nothing that could stop us now. Noemi joined us as the judges stood to announce the winner, the Pink Ponies, in second place. And in first place, us. We jumped up and down and hugged each other. One day, we would play a show in Europe. But right now, I couldn't have been happier to be where I was.